constituency, Matthew Nyindambi, walked out of Parliament following the annulment of the 2024 parliamentary election results. But the minority has rejected the call. We will take you to Parliament for a live feed of the debate, which is currently ongoing in the House. And later, West Africa records yet another coup d'etat as the military in Guinea-Bissau announced a takeover after reports of the president's arrest. Details of all of these and more coming up. But before that, let's bring you the news summaries.
In a summary, the Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah, has officially inaugurated an 11-member ministerial oversight committee responsible for overseeing Ghana's national preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. In a stern address during the inauguration, Mr. Deborah issued a clear warning to all members, urging them to work with the highest levels of integrity and to avoid any actions that could bring the country's name into disrepute on the international stage. Government is considering increasing the feeding grants for students in special schools from 7 cedis to 15 cedis per student. Minister of Education Haruna Idrisu has announced that. Now, the proposal forms part of a broader request to get funds to dedicate 100 million cedis annually to support special needs education. He made this announcement during a meeting with heads of special schools in Accra, where he highlighted long-standing funding challenges within the sector. A new analysis by the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed striking regional and district-level disparities in domestic violence across the country, with the central region emerging as the national hotspot for physical abuse. According to the district-level small area estimation findings, which merged data from the 2022 Ghana Demographic and Health Survey and the 2021 Population and Housing Census, the central region recorded the highest prevalence of physical violence at 44.6%. And finally, tension is mounting among more than 3,000 teachers across the country after the Controller and Accountant General's Department announced that a continuous professional development allowance will not be paid this month. Now, teacher unions say the decision has caused widespread concern, urging the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, and the Ghana Education Service, GES, to intervene immediately to prevent possible industrial unrest. That'll be it for the news summary. Martin.
Thank you very much for those news summaries. And we are delving into the details of our stories this evening. And we're starting from Parliament, where the minority in the House has strongly objected to the Tamale High Court ruling that ordered a rerun of the entire parliamentary election in the Pandai constituency, labeling the decision as an animal farm judgment, one that is reckless and defies constitutional propriety. The caucus leader, Alexander Peñomarkin, criticized the presiding judge for making that directive without full judgment or reasoning for the decision. He questioned why the judge directed a rerun of election across the 152 polling stations when the applicant requested same for only 41 polling stations. And I would want to listen to what exactly the speaker has been, what exactly the minority has been saying. But let's listen to our correspondent, Christian Yali, who is in Parliament. And before we bring you what the proceedings are, Christian, thank you for joining us. First of all, we just realized that Parliament has just gone on recess. What exactly has been happening in the House today?
All right, Martin. So today, largely, there has been a number of press conferences. One of key importance is the issue of the NPP MP for Pandai, Matthew Nyindam, whose case has come up strongly here. Just a while ago, he was invited to comment on the 2026 budget, but the majority side objected that, and the chief whip, Roxton Nelson Datamekpo, made the case that because of the court ruling by the Tamale High Court, he shouldn't be allowed to even participate in the proceedings in the House. And as a matter of fact, he should be declared persona non grata, which means that he shouldn't be allowed around the chamber or even inside the chamber. The minority leader, Alexander Peñomarkin, resisted that and objected to that as well, making the case that when Judge Kwesi lost a case at the High Court, he was not marched from the chamber as was being pleaded by the majority today, but he was allowed his right to participate in proceedings and as well was allowed to, make his case on the floor of Parliament. He even made the case that he was not stripped of his entitlement or benefit by way of, salary or his vehicle as well as other benefit that he enjoyed as Member of Parliament. In the end of that all, the Speaker of Parliament, who was not available today, made a direct communication to the second Deputy Speaker, who was presiding, that there should be a freeze on that discussion and that no one should make any further commentary on that court case. But the understanding, Martin, that we have is that the court orders have been served on Parliament, which means that if that is the case, then indeed the honourable member shouldn't be in the chamber to participate in the proceedings. And that Speaker says he himself would rule on the matter when he comes around or when he comes to preside over the sitting. And so that has been dealt with. But earlier before that, Martin, the minority leader addressed the press on that same case. By far and by extent, what he is saying is that the judge who presided over the case acted unconstitutionally. He makes the case that they, from the minority side, are not afraid of, calling out the judiciary for what, in his own words, is a shameful conduct, and that, if anything at all, they are ready to be called one by one for contempt of court, and that the minority MPs are ready to be in Nsawam. That is what he had earlier said in a press conference. Martin.
For those who may not necessarily follow what you have just said, can you repeat the latter part? So is it the leader that spoke and said that if the majority side insists that Martin Yindam not be allowed to participate in parliamentary proceedings and is taking out,
yes,
all of them will be wherever he is sent to?
No, Martin. So what I'm saying is that before what transpired in the chamber, the minority leader earlier addressed a press. Alexander Fairmarkin addressed a presser, and he indicated that they, the minority, will continue to call out the judiciary for what he terms a shameful conduct and for pleasing their paymasters. And if by saying that they are cited for contempt of court, they, the minority NPP MPs, are ready to be called one by one for contempt of court, and they are ready to be in Nsawam. By extent, they are ready to be imprisoned for contempt of court because they are not afraid to call out the judiciary, because in their own view, that ruling by the Tamale High Court judge is reckless, is unconstitutional. He even claims that before the ruling was made, NDC supporters in the constituency were aware of what the outcome of the case was going to be. And a judge cannot go ahead to make a blanket directive that there should be a rerun of a parliamentary election across all the constituency when even the applicant in the case had demanded for a rerun of only 41 out of the 152 polling stations. Martin.
Wow, okay. Right. So clearly they have countered what the majority side was saying. Beyond what he has said, what exactly... I realized that after the press conference on the floor of Parliament, same issue was being heavily debated. How has that concluded?
Yes, that has been concluded by way of the Speaker of Parliament giving a directive to the second Deputy Speaker who was presiding that there should be a freeze on the issue, on the discussion, because the majority side had wanted Honorable Matthew Yindam to be walked out from the chamber for saying that based on the court's directive and the orders which have been served on Parliament, he is a persona non grata, which means that he should not be allowed entry into the chamber to even participate in the case. So he made the majority side made that request, but he should not be allowed to even comment on the 2026 budget, let alone to be in the chamber. And then the minority leader stepped out again, rose to his feet again to make a case that when the case of Dachikwesen came up in the former administration, Dachikwesen was not marched out of the chamber. He was allowed to participate in proceedings. He was allowed to benefit from all his entitlement as an MP. So today, the same cannot be said, or a different narrative cannot be said of the Honorable Matthew Yindam. Now, the speaker was invited, or the deputy speaker who was presiding, was invited to make a decision on this, whether to allow him to debate or comment on the budget, or to, allow the plea of the majority side for the MP to be worked out. There we had a communication that the speaker had communicated to him that he should not allow further commentary on the substantive case of whether the MP should be allowed in the chamber or not, and that he, the speaker, when he presides, will make a final determination of the case. And so the second deputy speaker, who belongs to the NPP, ended the case over there for them to move on to other things, and which was what happened. And then they even continue to pass the value-added tax bill. And so that is how it ended. He was not allowed to comment on the 2026 budget, but he was still in the chamber. And that the plea of the majority side, but his name be removed from Parliament records, was not allowed, or there was no decision on it yet until the speaker comes to make that final determination.
Well, thank you very much for that report. Christian Yali is our parliamentary correspondent, updating us on how the debate unfolded throughout the day, especially having to start from the press conference by the minority who were challenging the decision of a High Court judge to annul the Pandai constituency elections, asking for a rerun, the parliamentary elections, and asked for a rerun. So what exactly is going to happen in the coming days now that Parliament, especially the majority side, have decided not to allow all that to happen? Let's find out from a private legal practitioner what we should expect, even as regular citizens who are following this issue, and whether there is a precedent that can guide the final outcome of this. He is a constitutional lawyer in the person of John Quayson. Mr. Quayson, thank you for your time. Good evening, and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my brother. Thank you for having me too.
You're welcome. What does is this clearly spelled out in the Constitution when some of these issues come up in Parliament, where a court decides that a particular constituency election result be annulled and then calls for a rerun, but the House itself says that or the minority in the House says they are not in agreement with that decision? How does the Constitution talk about all of these things and how we should proceed?
Okay, as a prelude or my preamble, I wish to say that quite recently we had a similar one also coming from Koforidua that occasion a rerun of election at Akwatia. No, there was something like that, and then that one also went to court. And then the matter had to be sat on. Okay?
Right.
The Akwatia one. Eventually, it went in favor of the certain MP. Unfortunately, he passed on late. But my point is that Ghana or Africa has become too political because of the kind of caricature democracy that African countries have adopted. That in itself is a worry, a big worry that needs to be addressed from time to time. Now, if we don't tackle most of this problem from the root, every now and then, these are the inherited benefits or negatives that we have in our system. When MPP was in power, the NDC at the time perceived them that they use incumbency to fight them over some of these things. If you recall the Quayson's case, for instance.
Yes.
So there had always been the agitation and the promise that when we also come into power, we'll also go on such tangent. So all through from the very day the election results were declared, we had most of these happening. And the perception is that the NDC will try as much as possible to use their political influence to get back most of the seats that they have some agitation, one form of agitation or the other. But in the instant case, I think there will be a bit of difficulty because in legal terms, you must look at the issues first. The issue before us is that they said they have some commotion at the collation center, and that the certain MP is of the view that where they have the dispute, if you put all the ballot, sheet together, the figure they are looking at will not even be more than 500. You see, and then he was also leading well over that 500 figure. I think 41 polling stations had issue. And if you put the entire thing together, without even giving anything to the MP now, it will still be in the list. So they didn't understand why the court would choose to rule otherwise. Unfortunately, we do not have the reasoning behind the ruling. Maybe in the course of time, within the week or somewhere next week, we'll know what actually transpired in court and why the decision of a sort also came out. But then procedurally, there are some remedies for the MP, the disputed MP. He needs to file for an appeal. Another remedy is also for him to
but he has currently filed for a stay of execution. So
exactly.
What does that mean for the developments in Parliament?
So he's done all the two. If you go on appeal, you are just saying you are dissatisfied with the ruling. The law gives you that right. So a higher court will have to go into determination. And then the court may decide in favor of a certain MP now. Or the court will say whatever transpired, the judge was right in giving such a ruling. Then that is it. But as another remedy also, the court gives you the opportunity so that you will not be affected that much. And that remedy is that you can file for stay of execution. In that case, whatever judgment or ruling that has been given, they have to put it on hold until it is also determined by the court. So what will happen is that the higher court will have to determine that one, the stay of execution first, before they think about the appeal in itself. And that's a long way to go.
Yes.
It's not going to end anytime soon.
So while all of that is ongoing, Parliament will just have to allow the Member of Parliament to be attending the House and participate fully until the higher court, which in this case is the appeals court, determines the stay of execution that has been filed.
I will not cut you, but that one, these are Parliament and their issues. You and I cannot even involve ourselves in. They themselves they set precedent. So when it happens in other person's turn, they themselves know that there's no way anything is going to work in their favor also. The same justification that I cited in favor of the NDC, this time could be cited in favor of the MPP. Do you get it?
Yes.
Depending on the issues. When they have to deal with attending upon court, it favored the NDC at the time. So they too, when it is their time, already they've cited the Akutia one. So he had to be there while the court was ongoing. I hope you get my point.
I do.
So they're already precedent based on Jatukwesi's case. When he had issues in court, Parliament themselves decided that the court should deal with their issues and the person should continue to be in Parliament. To go through all processes and whatever, to carry himself properly to speak as a parliamentarian.
Right.
So I don't think now that the regime has changed, anybody is going to raise an issue that go and sit home until the court determines otherwise. The precedent is already there and they understand themselves. It's going to be a long journey now, but then that is how it is.
Certainly.
And like I said, the kind of politics we do over here, not until we change it, some of these things will continue and be coming
up.
I had indicated that now we don't even know which one is the executive, which one is the legislature, and which one is the judiciary. You see?
Yeah.
And by the way, you somewhat see that all the powers, at least 98%, reside in the executive that we have in Africa. And because if the executive want to do anything at the judiciary, now the citizens perceive that the executive will still have their way. When it comes to parliament also, at least 95%, the perception is also that parliamentarians that are supposed to be accountable to the country, to be watchdogs,
right?
Okay, counter to the executive and then the judiciary, are rather fighting for the executives all the time.
Yes.
So you don't know whether we are practicing democracy or we are practicing
a different kind of system.
A completely strange system of governance.
Mr. Kwesi,
and these are the reasons why we continue to have some of these
kind of challenges. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely understand the position you are putting across and the legal perspective you bring to this conversation. But we'll leave it here for now and wait to see how the coming days play out. Thank you for making time to speak with us, Mr. Kwesi.
Thank you, my brother.
You heard John Kwesi, a constitutional lawyer, and has been sharing his thoughts on the developments in Parliament having to do with Matthew Nyendam, the Member of Parliament for the Kwandai constituency, who is currently being disputed by a court. The court has given a clear ruling that his constituency elections be rerun, although based on the case, we are told that the applicant or the plaintiff contended 41 of the polling centers in the constituency, but it looks as though the judge is asking that the entire constituency, which has 152 polling stations, conduct the rerun in all these polling stations. And that's one of the positions the minority have had issues with, saying that the judge seems to either have been misled or is not taking the right decision. Let's listen to Alexander Penyomarking when he addressed the media on this particular issue.
Let me first speak directly to the people of Pandai. To the people of Pandai, your Member of Parliament, Honorable Matthew Nyendam, remains the sitting Member of Parliament for the Pandai constituency. He remains a full Member of Parliament. He remains a proud and active member of the Minority Caucus and the New Patriotic Party. No person, no institution, and certainly no flawed judicial order can suspend the mandate you freely and lawfully conferred upon him, unless and until the appellate process, properly invoked and fully exhausted, runs its lawful course. He will continue to serve you with dedication and dignity. Let me state this emphatically and without equivocation. The minority will lawfully resist any attempt, whether subtle or brazen, to bar him from representing his people. We will not permit democratic legitimacy to be overturned by judicial improvisation. The judiciary must know that their actions and inactions to serve the interests of whoever their paymaster is has the tendency of destroying our peaceful republic. We will not mince words. They can conspire to call us one by one for a so-called contempt of courts. We are criticizing their shameful conduct. We are not afraid. We are ready to be in Nsawam for their so-called contempt. The world will see their disgraceful conduct. We will not sit aloof and allow them to undermine the very rule of law that they are supposed to protect. How can a judge who calls himself a judge sit in court and misconduct himself in such a manner and expect the country to be quiet? Now here is where the matter becomes even more extraordinary. This order, an order with massive political, legal and democratic consequences, was pronounced without the court's full judgments, as I've stated supra. There were no written reasons, no factual findings, no legal analysis, just a naked directive issued into the public domain. And the whole constituency is now being told that there must be a rerun. I am a practicing lawyer of experience at the bar. I understand that courts occasionally deliver rulings with reasons to follow, but such a practice is the exception not the rule. And it is never acceptable approach when the stakes are this high.
And you heard the voice of Alexander Peña-Markin, the minority leader in Parliament, clearly denying the reports that are coming, or at least trying to state their defiance of the fact that they were not going to allow Matthew Nyindam to leave Parliament and would stay and continue business as usual until a clear determination of this matter. So he got a reaction from the majority side. Before that, let me say good evening to our resource person who is with us, Dr. Jonathan Asiedu-Dartey, who will be engaging in a minute over this. But let's listen to what the Chief Whip, the majority Chief Whip, Roxy Nelson Dapaah-Mekpor, said. Then we can ask our resource person, Dr. Asiedu-Dartey, what he makes of how all of this is playing out in Parliament and whether we are likely to get some clarity on this in the coming days.
I have a copy of the proof of service of the orders of the Tamale High Court dated yesterday, 24th of November, and served on Parliament. The orders of the court was served by the court bailiff of the High Court Accra. It's called Solomon Osafu, bailiff of the High Court Accra. And I have the affidavit of service. So, Mr. Speaker, I will make all this available to the table office. Speaker, by operation of law, the Honorable Nyindam can no longer participate in our proceedings. If he's minded to appeal the decision of the High Court, this is right, and he has done so. But it is tried that mere filing of an appeal does not operate as a stay of execution of the court's orders. Mr. Speaker, further, a mere filing of a stay of execution, please, there are two processes involved here. I've seen both copies. He has filed a notice of appeal. It does not operate as a stay against the execution of the orders of the High Court, Tamale. Two, a mere filing of a stay of execution application also does not operate as a stay against the execution of the orders of the court. So Parliament, having been duly served, has the duty under law to ensure that the Honorable Nyindam is no longer extended cut seats by the House as extended to members. Mr. Speaker, I'm not raising these matters whimsically because precedents will guide us. Mr. Speaker, when the Honorable Jachi Kwesi was ordered by the court that he should go through rerun of his elections, members of this side at the time, mainly led by the now minority leader, spoke vociferously against the fact that the Honorable Jachi Kwesi cannot be entertained in this house. The issue was raised by Professor Kinsley Nyaku. He used to sit here. And that matter caught fire on this floor. Eventually, the Honorable Jachi Kwesi had to leave. So these matters, they are beaten path. This is a path that we have traveled. Precedent has been laid and set, or set and laid.
And that is Roxy Nelson Dapaah-Mekpor, the majority Chief Whip, arguing vociferously, like he tried to mention, that they will not agree with what the minority is saying. Dr. Jonathan Asiedu-Dartey is a political analyst. He's joined us for a quick chat. Doc, thank you for staying on the line, and we appreciate your time. To start with, how does this come to you that the majority is claiming that there's been a precedent, the minority say this is uncharted territory and that we need to proceed cautiously?
Well, good evening, Martin, and to your listeners as well. I think that probably the interpretation of this and the final verdict will have to come from the Speaker. And I think this interpretation on this will pave the way for the matter to be settled. And so it is just unfortunate that a bad precedent was set earlier on, and it is coming to haunt the MPP. Because in a simple law or commonsensical approach, when somebody files a stay of execution, until the matter is heard, you cannot also assume that the stay of execution has seen the light of day. There is some ambiguity in there. So if you look at what transpired at Pandai, which of course is significantly different from what transpired at Asiedu North. But the mere fact that the interpretation of the law was used against Mr. J.P. then it makes it a bit difficult because the precedent has been set whether it was bad or it was good. And that is where the unfortunate, process lies. Other than that, if you are to go into the nitty-gritty of what happened at Pandai, then I think that a lot more will have to be said. That being said, I think that, as I said earlier on, the Speaker will be the best person to make a pronouncement on this. The MPP is at a crossroads. At this point in time, they have become overwhelmingly unpopular. They are led by someone who, in my own, judgment, lacks emotional intelligence. He lacks control when it comes to his emotions. And that, for me, is something that he must work on. If he's able to do so, it will help him. Other than that, he's dragging the name of the minority in the mud. It is not a shouting contest. It is about, being soberly in the argument that you put forth. Everybody will listen and hear you. But this shouting contest and the use of unprintable words against the judiciary, I think that it is just struggling in the areas of contempt. And I think that does not augur well for a minority leader. It makes the difference between, Mr. Afenyomarkin and the former Swami MP, what's the name? The former majority leader. It makes the difference quite clear. Yeah, he was not even a lawyer, but he was very much articulate when it came to parliamentary practice and some legal, interpretation. And it got to me when I heard that he wasn't a lawyer. I said, wow, that is quite interesting. I think that he may have to mature along the line. Other than that, the minority will do themselves a lot of good to change course. Probably they can take somebody who is economically oriented to speak more to issues of economy. Take another person who has, the legal jurisprudence at his fingertips, and that could help as well in matters of parliament. But when it comes to Mr. Afenyomarkin alone, I think that they wouldn't say it, but they know that when they go behind the scenes, it worries them. That, I looked at the people around when they were conducting this press conference, and I don't see anyone of metal. And that is very worrying when it comes to the MPP. The tradition of the MPP is by far superior along the line. People with metal, achievers, people who have, have seen it all, and they have gravitas. But I don't see that in the present generation. Pardon me, but I don't see that at all.
Yeah, just by way of a slight digression, could the majority, I beg your pardon, could the minority side of the House, take a decision on their leader, where in this case, like you're suggesting, if they are not careful, the current leader who is the MP for Efutu, Alexander Penyomakin, might lead them in the totally wrong direction, and their numbers might continue to whittle. So is it your suggestion that they probably need to immediately start looking inward and use the ideologies of the NPP and the NPP of old that we've known to guide who they select or pick to lead them now that they are, as some are describing it, a micro minority?
Certainly, just hit the nail right on the head. I can. This man was in one something. That guy. Just because the era of Kombi that was run by Mr. Fori, right? The former finance minister.
Finance minister. Yeah.
He had caused to stay down and was not ready to allow the economy to go more down the drain under his leadership. Thenceforth, was that line. You need people like that in the leadership of the NPP. You need people like that in the leadership of the NPP. People who are able to, his experience could let him bring people from the other side to buy into his argument. The consensus building that Mr. Penyomakin's promised when he was the majority leader, I expected him to continue as minority leader. He could not even do the consensus building as majority leader, let alone minority. So I see some kind of belligerence in him, but it is not for me. It's not going to do well for the MPP. Because the way is not attractive enough. It's not attractive enough. You see, when somebody is speaking and it is on television, you hear the voice, you really want to listen to the end what that person is saying. By running from wherever you are, you go and listen. You wouldn't want to miss that mark. People like the Speaker of Parliament, when he is speaking, you will appreciate the fact that this is wisdom at hand.
Right?
This is wisdom at hand. The same can be said of the minister also. So what exactly is happening to the NPP, I just don't know. Is it the case that people are trying, propel their own self-interest, keep themselves whatever they want to keep themselves at the expense of the health of the party, to help with everybody else? Well, if that is how they want to go, it is just quite unfortunate. But as I said earlier on, when he speaks, I'm very sure that people will pull their tongues out and they are with their heart in their hand, because they are not too sure what is likely going to get. And that for me is not good for the NPP.
Okay. Doc, my final question to the substantive issue at hand, which is the court decision. We know that there is a legal aspect to it. There is the political aspect to it. What should constituents do now? The NDC says they are already lacing their boots to go and campaign or start the entire campaign activities in the constituency again. The constituents are unsure what to do or what's going to happen. The majority of the MPP, I should say, are also thinking that they are confident that the court would stay or annul that decision. So a lot of murky issues happening here. What do you think constituents or those who are politically awake in the constituency, what should they be doing or looking forward to?
I see the people in a dilemma. Now they may want to explore or express the legal, procedure to the limit. But as to do that, don't forget your opponent to be campaigning, because they think that they do not have matters court. So it is also going to be ironical that you are king dress in the law court and yet you are campaigning on the ground. That for me will be a prudent way of looking at the issue, so that you are not taken by surprise. The court has given 30 days for this to be done. I don't know if they will stay the execution. If they don't start the execution and you are still in the law court and think that the time will be running, then it means that the electoral commission within no time will set the date for the conduct of the election. And so I think that for the constituent community that is in this election, I think we must plan tools. One, explore the legal, which is still costly, or plan for re-election. Whichever way is not going to be simple for him. The point is that the presidential parents are campaigning basically crisscrossing the country. So you don't expect them to put their resources at the disposal.
Right.
This is the number one disadvantage. And two, if you are on the side of the development, then it means that the development will have to do its face.
Okay.
The rest do not care. If you're on the side of Kennedy Japan, then Kennedy will have to do its best. The rest would not care. Because if you speak, you think alone. At this point, MPP is a demotivated party. The NDP is highly motivated. And that is occasioned by the way and manner the economy is run.
Okay.
And then governance as well. So central government will give some kind of advantage, as it did in Abdekma, is enough. And this may not also be different.
Okay.
I think that we can even call this place a swing constituency.
Yes.
It's been won by the NDP some years back, been won by the NDP as well. And if you look at the condition that we find ourselves in the country in terms of government, I think that the NDC appears more attractive than the MPP. And the MPP is highly demotivated because they are losing one seat too many.
Okay. Dr. Jonathan Asiedu-Dartey, thank you so much for your time and thoughts on this subject.
You're welcome, Martin.
And he is a political analyst and sharing his thoughts on what's happening in Parliament. A lot of moving parts. We know the political angle, the legal angle, and then, a lot of things in between as well. So do stay with us as your election command center will try and figure out how all of this will play out or will shape up in the coming hours and update you subsequently. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. We are live around the world on 3news.com. We are also streaming on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So do keep your messages coming in. We will definitely try and, acknowledge them subsequently. Let's take you on a quick trip to Guinea-Bissau because in the last few hours, there seemed to be another coup in the country. A group of army officers say they have seized control of Guinea-Bissau on the eve of the expected announcement of election results from a hotly contested presidential election. In a statement read on state television this afternoon, the army led by a few officers, said that they had deposed President Umaro Sissoco Embalo, suspended the electoral process, shut borders, and would enforce a curfew. They said that they had formed the High Military Command for the restoration of order and would be in charge of the West African nation until further notice. Shortly before the announcement, gunfire was heard ringing around the electoral area and some other key areas where people have heard and confirmed that gunshots were heard in the distance and nearby. And so we also do know that the Electoral Commission had been due to declare the results on Thursday, which is tomorrow. The provisional results were expected to be announced for the election that took place last Sunday, in which Embalo faced off against top challengers, and the key rival in that election was Fernando Diaz. Both sides had claimed victory in the first round of voting. Embalo was seeking to become the first president in 3 decades to win a second consecutive term in Guinea-Bissau. There have been 2 attempts to overthrow Embalo. The latest happened in December 2023. So what exactly is happening? We'll try and get some security perspective to this for you. Let's go to the phone lines now. Mutaro Mumuni Mukhtar is the Executive Director for the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism. Been following this issue. He's joined us. Mukhtar, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hello, good evening to you. Good evening to your listeners and viewers.
Right, we have tried to speak to our, friends and colleagues in and around Guinea-Bissau, try to get a sense of what exactly is happening. Are you able to tell us what you have picked up regarding the seeming coup and the fact that we had all thought that there was a peaceful election that happened last Sunday, then out of the blue, just when results are about to be declared, there is the military say they have taken over. What's happening?
Well, what we are looking at, it's a horrible situation of a coup that has taken place. And in fact, at the moment, there appears to be adequate information or communication to the effect that there has been an effective coup in place. And the president, including several members of his cabinet, have been arrested. And, parliamentary processes and elections, everything has been suspended at the moment. And so there appears to be little doubt, about the coup situation in Guinea. Of course, this is not entirely surprising to security watchers and people like us who are in the field. This is a very, very vulnerable country. It has been so for quite so long. And so the possibility of a coup did not and hasn't been surprising to us. And like you mentioned in your commentary, this is not the first time there has been an attempted coup on even the current president or the former president, now former president of Guinea. For the last 4 decades, we have seen pervasive situations of coups and attempted coups. And in fact, we've had about 9 different attempted coups and coups that are taking place within this country. That's quite a lot for a nation, in this part of the world. We're looking at a country that has been very vulnerable when it comes to the pervasive reality of, drugs, and to a point that it was safely described as a narco state. Those, of course, implied a country that was very vulnerable due to the proximity of that area to the Caribbean. We've seen a country that has been, that ranks very low on the Human Development Index. And several factors like youth unemployment, joblessness, issues of corruption, and injustice, all of them characterize a nation that is vulnerable. It's not surprising at all.
Unfortunately, we seem to have lost the line to Mutaro Mumuni Mukhtar, the Executive Director for the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, and was trying to give us some security perspectives on the issues that we are hearing about from Guinea-Bissau. And so in case you are unaware of what's happening, well, on Sunday, they went to the polls to vote, and right after the elections on Sunday, counting was being done, and it was getting to the latter part of the counting where declaration of the results was expected tomorrow, Thursday, the 27th, only for a group of military officers who say they have formed what is called the High Military Command for the Restoration of Order to decide to take over the country. So the current president, who is Umaru Sissoco Embalo, has been arrested or is under house arrest. We also just got information that a number of the cabinet ministers have all been arrested or been prevented from moving. Information we are gathering indicates that their borders have also been closed, and so nobody is allowed moving in and out of the country. So a lot is happening in Guinea-Bissau, and some of the residents in and around the capital, which is Bissau, say that they have heard gunshots being fired. So from all indications, all of these boxes clearly indicate that a coup has happened in Guinea-Bissau. So we don't know what's happening. The information is really very scanty because of the tense situation. People are also unable to go to the country or move to where they can get their information from. So we are just going to have to wait for a few more hours to see what kind of clarity we'll be getting on this matter. But trust us here at Media General 3FM 92.7 and on TV3 to update you when any new update does develop. But would advise that you just hold on, just stay on 3FM. We're shifting our gears now to the world of business, and Bismarck Owusa will bring that to us. This is 92.7.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Owusa. Coming up tonight, Bank of Ghana cites stronger macroeconomic stability, faster disinflation and robust reserves as MPC slashes policy rate to 18%. We'll hear from Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. The Bank of Ghana has delivered another bold monetary easing move, cutting the policy rate by 350 basis points to 18%, a decision the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, says reflects broad improvements in Ghana's macroeconomic conditions, including an expected significant decline in inflation by year-end, a tighter fiscal and monetary stance, and a strong build-up of foreign reserves, anchoring exchange rate stability. Speaking at the 127th MPC press briefing, Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama projects inflation to remain stable around target into the first half of 2026 and believes prevailing high real interest rates provide scope to support the ongoing growth recovery.
In taking the policy decision, the view of the committee was that overall macroeconomic conditions have broadly improved. Given the anticipated significant decline in inflation by the end of the year, the tight monetary policy stance, the significant buildup of reserves, which is providing anchor for exchange rate stability, the bank projects a continued stable inflation profile around the target and well into the first half of next year, 2026. This is against the backdrop that current risks in the outlook to shift the path of inflation away from target have moderated significantly. Hence, the prevailing high real interest rates provides some scope to ease policy to further boost the growth recovery efforts. So given these considerations, the committee, by majority decision, voted to lower the monetary policy rate further by 350 basis points to 18.0%.
Meanwhile, Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama has denied allegations of the Bank of Ghana funding the Gold Board. According to him, the Ghana Gold Board only provides services to the central bank.
Remember, Gold Board is just the PMMC as we used to have it. Our relationship to get, vis-a-vis the Gold Board is just like the relationship we had with PMMC. So what we do is to ask Gold Board to purchase something for us, and then that something is exported. when it's exported, we receive the US dollar. So it's not as though we are funding them, it is a service they are producing for us. And come to think of it, we take money from the commercial bank, and that is exactly what we pass onto the gold board. When they acquire the Doré gold, it is exported, we take custody of the FX, and then the same FX is intermediated. It is not as some people are putting it. In any case, remember, we are still under the fund program. The zero financing condition we are holding, very, very strictly. There's been no violations. If there was any violation, the IMF would have raised concerns immediately. So we are not funding the gold board. They are providing a service for us.
And that was Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, denying allegations that the central bank funds the gold board. Before we go, the Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sarpong, has issued a strong warning to smugglers, stating they risk losing their entire capital to the state if caught. This tough stance is intended to serve as a significant deterrent against illicit trade activities. Sarpong sounded the warning during a media briefing in Accra following a major operation that resulted in the seizure and confiscation of uncustomed goods on November 22, 2025, with estimated tax value of 3.6 million cedis. The operation targeted locations in Tema and Aflao.
The law empowers us to also take action on the truck owners whose trucks were being used to perpetrate these activities. So again, we will surcharge the truck owners appropriate amount for using their assets or vehicle to facilitate movements that could lead to loss of revenue. The success of these operations underscore the collaboration between the authority and other security agencies. The Customs Division of the authority operates in synergy with officers stationed at various borders and frontier points nationwide to ensure that all goods entering the country comply with customs regulations and have required duties paid on them. Let me emphasize that smuggling kills businesses, takes away job opportunities for our people, and denies the state the necessary revenue. If you smuggle and we arrest you, we will confiscate your goods and you will lose your capital to the state.
And that was Acting Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sarpong, ending Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Thanks for your company.